I am Pule Molebatsi, and this is Stories Untold, the home of good news. In fact, this is the platform that showcases stories of ordinary Africans with extraordinary tales. We believe that each and every one of us is a hero and a heroine in their own rights. How? Because all you have to do is believe in something, support it, and while you are at it, empower others. Today, we introduce you to yet another great cause. We are talking today about the Lupus Drive. Now, you wonder, what is lupus? Lupus is an inflammatory disease that's caused when the immune system attacks its own tissue. Now, as we unpack this, we'll introduce you to individuals who are living with lupus. Let's go straight into that story.
I have lupus. I was diagnosed 2021.
I was diagnosed in 2012.
I was diagnosed 10 years ago, so precisely about 2013.
7 years ago, I think in 2015.
According to the Lupus Drive Foundation, many people with lupus live relatively healthy and even extraordinary lives, although there is no cure for lupus. These are some of the few familiar faces that are living with this disease.
Lupus is a broad term for what we call autoimmune conditions. As you know, the autoimmune, your immune system is designed to protect us against outside agents like invading colds and flus, all sorts of bugs. But what happens when your immune system malfunctions and starts to recognize your own body as the enemy as such? And so it starts attacking that. So it's almost, for want of a better term, an internal war that starts going on in your immune system.
According to Dr. Marlon McKay, who is a general practitioner from Roodepoort in Johannesburg, it is unclear why this condition affects more women than men.
There's a distinct prevalence, or more prevalent in females, younger females, can even present in childhood. And the reasons for that, most of these autoimmune conditions have a predisposition and tend toward females for a number of reasons. We don't know the exact mechanism or cause, but we think it could be related to hormonal changes, environmental, genetics. Genetics very strong. Certain genes can predispose one. And if there's already lupus in the family, so it's very important for us to ask the patient, do you know of anyone who could have another autoimmune condition, in particular lupus? So that lends itself and there's a much greater chance of you getting lupus.
Entrepreneur and founder of the Lupus Drive Foundation, Lolo Lekgoane, was diagnosed with lupus in 2012. Her diagnosis came when she suddenly got ill while she was starting at her new job. This was the beginning of her journey with lupus.
My symptoms were something as simple as joint pains. It started as very minor joint pains. I just thought, because usually it would happen in winter. So I just thought, maybe I'm not dressing enough. And then after that, it was fatigue. Fatigue to a point where I had to wake up to report for work, I cannot wake up because I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted to a point where I can't even lift like a finger. So it was that, it was joint pains, it was the fatigue, it was the rash as well. But what led to my diagnosis was when I remember I was coming home that night from State Theatre and I couldn't walk up the stairs and I was alone. My legs literally locked. They locked. It was a winter night. It was cold. I had no one to call. And I remember making a very silent prayer just for me to be able to walk up the stairs. And I managed to walk up the stairs. And the following day, I woke up feeling much more worse. It was like 100 times worse than how I was feeling the previous day.
Eyesight problems is a common side effect in people with lupus, and it can cause vision loss that ranges from mild to severe blindness. Lolo experienced flare-ups that caused her to lose her vision.
Post the diagnosis, honestly, to be quite honest, the first 2 years, my life was pretty normal. I had even forgotten that I have this condition. 2 years, I wasn't even taking medication. I think I took medication like the first 6 months, and only until my first relapse. This was in 2015 in December. That's when my life now took a drastic turn. Post that, that's when I lost my vision. I was hospitalized for like a month. It was the thing about this condition also is that you never ever just deal with lupus alone. It's always lupus and something else. So when I got to the hospital, I went there because of my eyes. I remember walking into the house and my mom was saying, "There's something wrong with your eyes," and I could tell that I'm seeing double. And when I went to the hospital, it was just for the eyes. But when I got there, fortunately, the doctor again could pick up that it wasn't just the eyes, but it was something that was happening in the brain as well. So and then we did an MRI. The results came back. It was perimeningitis on top of the lupus and the vision loss. So the vision loss, carried on for about 3 months, and doctors were not seeing anything. I had to miss work. I mean, I was working at the time, but I had missed work for 3 months because I was just not getting better.
As she was constantly in and out of hospital, Lolo's sister recalls how she had to visit her to assist her in doing life's simplest tasks.
I remember the first time she stayed about 3 months or so in hospital. I had to go every day to the hospital to go and bath her, because also even the nurses would ask, "What is that?" But they would be helping her and asking, "What is that?" So we would also find it an opportunity to say, actually, perhaps this is what we need to do, to educate everyone and not just assume that everybody knows everything. So she would have flares. At the worst one was where she couldn't even walk. She couldn't even walk. She couldn't even do anything. She was just dizzy. She couldn't eat. And then she had to be on a wheelchair for some time.
I had to resign because there was just no way, because it involved, strenuous work. It was sales, so I was constantly on the ground. It involved driving as well. So what happens on days where my legs are not moving? What happens where I can't use my hands? So it means I cannot report for work. So that ultimately led to also me leaving the corporate world, permanently, because I was constantly in and out of hospitals until to a point where my bosses were just like, how are we going to continue paying you for being in hospital because you're not working?
Lolo's aunt succumbed to lupus a few years back. Lolo and her sister Lolo Lekgoane decided to open the Lolo Lekgoane Lupus Foundation to support other patients that are living with the disease.
Because we found that so many people did not know about this, even the doctors and the nurses, which really was surprising. But then we remembered that during the time of our aunt, they also didn't know, So we thought, okay, fine, how about we start a foundation? She thought about it, spoke with a close friend, and I said, okay, let's do this, let's support. And then we founded the Lolo Lekgoane Lupus Foundation, which works to help people, 1, with information, 2, with support. So she also has a WhatsApp group of which people join the WhatsApp group who have been newly diagnosed or have been diagnosed, or with family and support. Because there's 2 things to this. There's the person who has the actual disease or illness, and then there's the support structure. Because the support structure equally goes through a lot when this person goes through a lot. Like I said, Lolo is a very bubbly person. And one day, literally, it's not even figurative. Today she's fine. The following morning she can't wake up. You're literally like, how,
For me, it was a very personal decision. Personal in the sense that, like I mentioned earlier, that I had an aunt who was misdiagnosed for about 13 years. So I'd witnessed my aunt, being chronically ill. I witnessed my aunt's fingers being amputated because she was misdiagnosed. So when the correct diagnosis came about, unfortunately it was already too late for her, and she eventually ultimately passed on at the age of 33. So when I got diagnosed, and starting this foundation was mainly because of that, if the information is out there, and we're not only educating just the community or at large, but even medical professionals who are not even clued up about this condition. So the aim of the foundation honestly was for that early diagnosis can save lives. You know, there is absolutely no need for young people to still die because of this condition, where there's technology is advancing, where there's, you know, information out there that could change, you know, that narrative of young people having to perish because of misdiagnosis or because of lack of information.
Because we went through all of this, I would have the understanding from a caregiver's side, and she would have an understanding from one who's actually living with the condition, you know. So from the lupus, the foundation helps the support structure, you know, to understand that when your child sometimes is okay today, tomorrow they might not be okay, and how to be okay with that as well.
Welcome back to the show. Today we are following the great cause, which is the Lupus Drive. But I would also like to take this opportunity to introduce you to individuals and multiple voices behind this great initiative. Let's go and meet them.
The Lupus Drive is a non-profit organization founded by Pontso Khaka Moiloa, an advocate for lupus who is committed to addressing issues of inequality and lack of information with regards to the autoimmune disease called lupus. She started the foundation with her longtime friend Itumeleng, who was living with lupus back in 2017.
So this is the part where it gets tricky, right? I did not know what lupus is or was at the time. I was in Cape Town. This journey actually started in early 2017 in Cape Town, where I started writing about a condition that I did not know about. From literally, it disturbed me from midnight until 3 a.m. Every single day I was writing on the diary about something I knew absolutely nothing about. And there's a friend of mine, Itumeleng Sibilang. He used to post a lot on Facebook and just post about this random condition. But because we grew up together, I saw it, but we just didn't know what it was because I saw the skin condition that he had growing up. I know the problems that he used to deal with growing up, but I didn't know the intensity of it. So as I started posting myself about what I'm basically writing about, he reached out. I think I reached out to him or he reached out to me, and we communicated about it to be like, yo, what is this thing and how do we assist? You know, is it cancer? Is it what is it? And he basically just explained to me, but I already had the knowledge from the writing in my diary. So this is where the spiritual aspect of my life literally comes in. But he was the one person that I knew physically that actually was diagnosed with a condition. And we basically decided to create awareness around it. And the very same year, 2017, is the year that we actually launched the foundation.
According to the Lupus Drive Foundation, lupus affects more women of color than men. Doctors aren't sure why lupus is more common in women, but they think that the differences are in our genes and hormones.
99% is women, black women. I don't know why, but lupus, it affects mostly women of color. And yes, men do get lupus as well, but literally probabilities are, you know, and women are actually stand high chances of being diagnosed with lupus. We're not really sure as to what creates the activation, what actually activates it in the human body. However, we are aware that pregnancy literally is a factor.
The aim of the foundation is to raise awareness as well as educate and create programs of research, support and advocacy for women who are living with lupus in South Africa. We caught up with a few warriors that met up with Pontso through the foundation to find out how the foundation managed to change their lives.
I was just busy on Facebook on a normal day, and then I just was looking for merchandise actually. And then somebody referred me to Pontso. So that's how I met Pontso. We interacted, and she said, no, she has a non-profit organization. If I want to join, I'm welcome to join. And that's how I basically met Pontso. You know, it's nice to know that there's other people who have the same condition. So it was nice that, you know, you can learn from other people and how to maintain your condition. So I think for me, because as I say, I'm the only one in my family who has the lupus. So it's not easy to relate. They could not relate to what I go through on a daily basis. So when there's other people, you know, okay, there's this thing I can do that can help, there's this that can maintain. So I think that did help me a lot in how to control my lupus, to engage with other warriors as well.
I'm a parent to 5,872 lupus warriors in South Africa currently that know that they've been diagnosed with a condition. So how I connect with everybody, obviously it's people from different provinces, obviously, because we're still, even outside, we'll have people in Tanzania and all those things, you know, other African countries. But Zan basically communicated with me and she reached out and told me that, listen, I've been diagnosed with this condition and I do not know how to handle it. And she experiences a lot of brain fogs. How I know this is because majority of the time we'll literally communicate about something and hey, you know, checking in and you know, but it's the same with me. I mean, if you're a busy person, but obviously lupus contributes a lot to the brain fogs that they basically have. And yeah, Zen is just a very lovely, bubbly person. I'm looking forward to meeting her.
Meeting Pontso, at first I thought it was Pontso from the church that I go to. And it wasn't, because there's another one who also has lupus, but she doesn't go to the same church. So we became friends like that. We started divulging personal details. And to think that I've never met her personally, but I know her, like I know her proper. I know her daughter, I know this, I know that. She knows my son. We speak at length, and it's because I've got a friend and I've got friends within the foundation that understand what's happening. It's easy to face every day with lupus.
When I was diagnosed, I was spending plus minus 4,000 a month. Then you'll go for chemo. I went for chemo three years in a row. Every year for a period of 3 years. I'll do chemo, then go for remission for a couple of months, then to come back again.
And it's hitting and affecting her financially, but she's a very strong warrior, because I remember our last encounter, which was last week when we communicated. She communicated that, Pontso, do you know that outside of medical aid, I literally just spent 22,000 rand on a monthly basis for just my medication. How do we tap into medical aids, pharmaceuticals, or, you know, for them to assist us? And unfortunately, we can't do anything without the Department of Health, which is where we are right now.
People are dying. People that are diagnosed with lupus are dying, not because it's their time, because they cannot even afford medication to keep them alive. I look at myself, if I was not able to afford the medication that I take, of which I'm currently spending about 21,000 a month on medication alone. So, and I know for a fact that if I'm not able to afford the medication that I'm using now, I wouldn't be where I am today.
We've had a lot of people passing, warriors passing in the past years, and it has been horrible. I personally don't know how to keep be positive in a time like that, because all of these people that I've literally communicated are family, and when I communicate with majority of I know everybody on a personal level.
If you're a fan of the show by now, you know as we head towards the end of the show, this is where we focus on the strides that our featured guests have made in their causes, in their career, in their advocacy work, and the impact that they have on others. Today is no different in this particular program. At this very moment, we'll do just that as we unpack lupus and people that are living with this disease.
Just as much as we can be vocal about Women's Month, we can be vocal about GBV, can we also be vocal about lupus as people who are living with it? And I really appreciate Pontso. There's a lot that she does that people don't know. There are people within our group who do not have money sometimes to go to their checkups, and she makes it a point that within the money that she gets for the foundation, she helps those people out. If there's no money, she will call out to other people, and she just makes you feel more comfortable within the disease instead of being at agony that I have this and that to deal with.
Realistically, in the next 4 years, it can only be advocacy. It can only be activations. It can only be collaborating with hospitals. We have already collaborated with public hospitals in Gauteng. I think my thing would basically be able to both tap into public and private. But school activations, my passion. I absolutely love advocating and making sure that our young people in grade 8, grade 7, grade 5 literally ba gola ba itse gore condition e teng.
I would really love the foundation to grow to a point where we have a center where people can just walk in and find help and find not just, medical help, but also mental help and emotional help, because those things go together.
I think in my case, because I'm so open about my journey, I made it very easy for people to open up to me. People who have been sitting, at home thinking that they're the only ones who are experiencing this. I made it easy for them to know that there's somebody that can relate. You might think that because this is such a mysterious and unknown condition that you're the only one that's experiencing it. So also because of social media, I'm constantly sharing each and every phase of this journey that has made it easy for people to warm up to me, for people to find me relatable about what it is that they're going through.
And on that note, we end our show here for today, but it doesn't all have to end. Go over on our social media platforms and engage with us. Who knows, you could be the next person that's featured on the show, sharing the incredible work that you do in your community. Until next time, thank you for sharing the love. See you then.